In South America, most countries speak Spanish, while the largest country on the continent, Brazil, speaks Portuguese. However, there are some countries in South America that speak other languages. For example, there are 3 countries in South America that speak other languages such as English, Dutch, and French, respectively. These countries are the Guianas, which are located in the northeastern part of South America. Currently, there are 2 countries with the name Guyana, Guyana and French Guiana. However, throughout history, there have been 5 countries named Guyana. These countries were located in what is now Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana, and parts of Venezuela and Brazil. French Guiana is a colony of France and is located next to Suriname. Suriname was once called Dutch Guiana. Current Guyana is a country that was colonized by the British and was once called British Guiana. A part of the territory of Venezuela was once called Spanish Guiana, and, finally, the Brazilian state of Amapa was once called Portuguese Guiana. These countries were first seen by Christopher Columbus in 1498 and only received the first European settlers in the 16th century. The name Guyana can be translated as land of waters, which refers to the rivers or ocean that surround the region. This region was highly coveted by the great European powers of the time. With the division of the region, colonizers began to put their names on the Guianas, as is the case of French Guiana, which is an overseas territory of France. The official language of this place is French, and the head of state is the President of France. The people of French Guiana participate in French elections, and the currency used is the euro. It is interesting to note that, currently, France is the only country that has a territory in South America under its sovereignty. And the biggest border with a French territory is the border with Brazil. The capital of French Guiana is called Cayenne, and its name comes from the region's typical pepper. The French government appointed a mayor and an assembly to handle local affairs in the region. Unlike other regions that were part of Guyana, French Guiana never became independent. Initially, it was used as a penal colony, where prisoners were sent, but after the Second World War, it became part of France. The first European country to arrive in the region was Spain. In the late 15th century, Christopher Columbus discovered the New World. According to the Treaty of Tordesillas, the region in question initially belonged to the Portuguese and Spanish. However, these European First Nations believed that the Guianas region had few riches compared to other regions they were exploring. Portugal and Spain were focused on extracting gold from the former Vice Kingdom of Peru, silver from the Vice Kingdom of Prata, and timber from Brazil. The truth is that Portugal and Spain did not want to waste time with the Guianas region, which led to other European powers beginning to explore the Guianas region. The French, English, and Dutch began to colonize the region almost simultaneously, without a clear division of the territory. The Dutch arrived in the region at the beginning of the 17th century in 1602 and established colonies in Suriname and Guyana. The French arrived in the region around 1624 and established a colony in the region that became known as French Guiana. The British arrived in the region around 1650 and established colonies in Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago. The Dutch were the first to begin exploring the region of present-day Guyana, but later this territory came under British control, becoming known as British Guiana. The region, because it was not divided, ended up generating a large number of conflicts between the European peoples and the indigenous people of the region, in addition to conflicts between the European peoples themselves. The Guianas were the scene of several territorial disputes that continue to this day, and only in 1814 were they demarcated as we know them today. But what interest did Europeans have in settling in this region? The Guianas region was rich in natural resources, including gold, bauxite, diamonds, and timber. European powers were interested in exploiting these resources for their own economic benefit. Despite conflicts and exploitation, the Guianas region remained a valuable asset to European powers. The region had a strategic location, with access to the Atlantic Ocean and the main commercial routes. Furthermore, It had a climate favorable to agriculture and was rich in natural resources. The region continued to be a source of wealth and conflict for European powers for many years. However, the exploitation of these resources came at a great cost to the region's indigenous people, who were often forced to work in difficult conditions in mines and on plantations. Many of them died from diseases brought by Europeans, such as smallpox and measles. Native people were forced to work, and later Africans were brought in to work on tobacco, cotton, and coffee plantations. Slavery persisted until the 19th century, when it was eventually abolished, although at different times and in different locations in the region. In the post-slavery era, workers from various regions, including China, India, and the island of Java, were brought to work on plantations and other industries. Currently, the region's population is very diverse, with people of European, Asian, African, and Native American descent. It is fascinating to note that there were 5 Guianas in South America, and each of them followed a different path depending on the colonizer. British Guiana became independent in 1966, and as the first of the Guianas to achieve independence, it was given the name Guyana. Currently, a large percentage of Guyana's population lives below the poverty line. Guyana is also one of the world's largest producers of bauxite. This mineral is highly sought after for its use in aluminum production, and Guyana is known for having some of the most extensive bauxite reserves in the world. Meanwhile, neighboring Suriname, known as Dutch Guiana, gained its independence in 1975 and has maintained friendly relations with its former colonizer ever since. However, it was also colonized by the Spanish and British in the past. During the late 1980s and early 1990s, Suriname was involved in a brutal civil war that left many of its citizens traumatized. Since then, the country has made significant progress, but the scars of the conflict are still deep. It is also worth noting that there was once another Guyana, Portuguese Guiana, which was located in what is now the Brazilian state of Amapá. This Guyana was annexed to Brazilian territory and was also called Brazilian Guiana. It is important to mention that Brazil is the only country that shares a border with the 5 Guianas. Venezuela has a region of its territory called Guiana that was once known as Spanish Guiana. Guiana is an administrative region, the largest in the country, home to more than 1 million people. Another interesting fact is that there is a region in the territory of Guyana called Essequiba that Venezuela says should be part of its territory, so much so that it does not consider it to be part of the territory of Guyana. Venezuela considers it a disputed region. According to Venezuelans, when the British delimited the borders, they did so using a large part of Venezuelan territory. Of all the 5 Guianas, only 2 of them made Guyana and Suriname independent. Both Guyana and Suriname have official languages that are not Latin-based and have closer cultural ties with Caribbean countries than with other South American countries. This can also be seen in their sporting affiliations. Guyana and Suriname frequently compete in sports tournaments with Caribbean countries rather than their South American neighbors. This reflects the fact that its cultural and historical roots are more closely linked to the Caribbean than to other parts of South America. The history of the 5 Guianas offers a great case study on the complex legacy of European colonization in South America. By exploring this history, we gain a deeper understanding of the ways in which colonial power dynamics developed across the continent and the influence they exert on contemporary South American societies.